Hey, thanks for joining me for another vinyl collection update video. In this video I have about 6 records to talk about, and these are all secondhand pickups. I will save the other ones, the records I bought new, for a later video. So I picked up some records at the usual record fair in Oslo, which this time was in the beginning of April. And I also picked up a few ones from a guy selling online. So this should be good if you're interested in cult classic albums from the 80s, I guess. The first one I would like to talk about is the first one I picked up at the record fair, a record I've seen there before. And this was the solo album by Jeffrey Lee Pierce called Wild Weed from the year 1985. This is a terrific album if you like Gun Club. I'm sure you are aware of this album. So Jeffrey put this out in between the Gun Club's solo albums. Jeffrey Lee Pierce, the outlaw on the cover. Pretty much similar to the Gun Club stuff and the albums. It doesn't have the stripped down approach at all, as some solo efforts have. This is full band, full production, but it do have a lot of slick 80s production, meaning you have to be on board with a very upfront reverb-drenched snare going through the entire album. So some would say that this album is a bit dated sounding, but a lot of records from the 80s has that sound, and this is certainly a great one, and one of them. Yeah, I would say this is a pretty excellent album. High in energy and tempo. Opens up with a great single, Love and Desperation. Follows it up with Sex Killer. This is a track that I guess reminds me a lot of the Pixies. And I have to say, when I discovered Gun Club a few years ago, I had a big aha moment where I realized that the Pixies must have drawn a lot of influence from the Gun Club. Yeah, so the Pixies didn't feel quite as original after getting familiar with the Gun Club. So that's a song that reminds me of the Pixies. Another highlight on side A would be the song Cleopatra Dreams On. And the last track on side A, Sensitivity, I have to say that that was a particularly strong one, where the cowpunk blues influence really comes across. So there's this Swedish musician, Joakim Thåström, and people often bring up his quotes, nobody can sing the blues like Jeffrey Lee Pierce. And on that track, you know, he sings like a maniac, he sings his heart out, and yeah, a lot of the qualities with the Gun Club. And this album is actually Jeffrey's excellent singing. So yeah, pretty great. And side B, the highlight of the album for me, is the closer track, 7 minutes long. It's called Midnight Promise. That's a very, very strong track, and excellent chorus on that track. Atmospheric and nice. So I got this for 150 Norwegian, and it had a sticker and it said XX condition wise, so I thought it would be in great condition, and certainly it is. But I noticed there was another X on the album. If you didn't notice it, on the corner, I discovered this on my way home, and yeah, I'm not making a big deal out of it, but I'm not sure if it qualifies as an X minus or X plus, whatever it was in condition. Yeah, mentioning this because the alternative would be to pick up a newer pressing, remastered version, because these are available in the remastered. I've seen them online, so and not very expensive as well. And maybe the new remaster don't have the issue that this record had. Yeah, I'm a bit nitpicky, but there was some sibilance and distortion on the vocals, but not sure if it's due to how the record actually sounds or if it's wear on the record. I couldn't really see any visible wear on the actual record, but I'm pretty sure that it's not my needle that needs changing. Yeah, so that was something to note. This is just a Scandinavian pressing and an excellent album. I would recommend, and you already know it probably if you know the Gun Club, but as mentioned, you have to be on board with a 80s style production to fully enjoy it, I guess. Another album I picked up, probably just to have a listen. I hadn't heard this album before. I've only heard the debut album, I think it is, from this band, called Playing with Different Types or Different Kinds of Sex. I'm talking about the band The Au Pairs. This was very cheap, 70 kroners, and seeing how I had some interest in the first album, I just bought it to have a listen, to consume it. And I have to say that I didn't like this as much as the debut album. This introduces more sounds, it's more funky and experimental, there's more saxophones, and I struggled more with a lot of these tracks. So not so sure if I'm very eager to listen to this one again, I have to be honest. But yeah, something to pick up and get familiar with, I guess. But I really prefer the first album I heard by the Au Pairs that kind of felt like Gang of Four, only with a strong female vocalist. Yeah, so Au Pairs were an important early 80s UK post-punk band that gets some mention in the community, vinyl community. So yeah, that's that. And another one I picked up that was quite special for me. It's another record I know I've seen at the fair before. But last time I saw this, I had other priorities. And this is, of course, Nikki Sudden's first solo album after the Swell Maps, called Waiting on Egypt, released in 1982. And this is pretty much a continuation of the Swell Maps. You pretty much get Nikki Sudden songs from Swell Maps. It's the post-punk vibes, the noise, the touch of psychedelia. Probably not as experimental as Swell Maps overall, but very much has that gritty sound on quite a few of these tracks. Opens up very strongly with the track Back to the Coast, one of my favorites here. This has this great earworm backing vocals of Nikki's that's looped, and once I heard this song, you know, it was very immediate, and I had it in my head for a while after hearing this album. And also, you know, a cool song, Channel Steamer, which is just straight up Swell Maps post-punk, I'd say. Overall, very enjoyable, and I was very, very happy to see that this album contains the song New York, because this, I guess, is a Swell Maps song, and on my version of the Swell Maps album, or on my copy of the Swell Maps album, Jane in Occupied Europe, this song is not on it. I think I have a Spanish pressing that doesn't include that song. So I remember being very let down to discover that. And yeah, incredible track. Probably my favorite Swell Maps song. Just puzzling how they managed to record something so cool sounding. So that's a high recommendation to check out the song New York. Yeah, pretty happy with this record. I talked about Nikki Sudden and other solo albums before on our channel. And the one he followed up with this is, of course, The Bible Belt, where he goes more in, I guess, gradually more in the direction of the Jacobites, his later collaboration. More acoustically driven, but I do have to say that this is a very strong solo album, and probably one of my favorites of Nikki Sudden, I have to admit. I really, really dug this album. And the guy who sold me this, you know, I tried to haggle a bit because there was a big sticker on the front cover that had a lot of, you know, sticker residue, and he told me if it wasn't for that, this would be more expensive. But I saw that the cover was laminated, so what I did on my way home, I managed to scratch off the sticker residue, and so you can see now it's quite Instagram friendly, and I got my values worth after all. I really like this cover, so happy to pick it up. I'm not sure if it's something that's very common, I think it was reissued only once compared to the other Nikki albums I have that have been reissued a few more times. Such a treat, and something to check out, especially if you like the Swell Maps stuff. Yeah. So I would like to transition from talking about Nikki Sudden, and I will show a record that is not new, that I didn't pick up at the fair, but to transition from Nikki Sudden to his songwriting partner, Dave Kusworth. I would just like to mention the project they had together. I mentioned it before, the Jacobites. This is the second album from 1985, one of my favorite albums of all time. And Tom Waits, he actually said in 1985 that this was a record to listen to, his favorite album of 1985. And he said, quoted in The Enemy, Nikki Sudden's new record. But of course, the Jacobites was not only Nikki Sudden, it was also a collaboration with Dave Kusworth, who wrote half the songs, and he actually wrote my favorite Jacobite songs. Check out songs like Hearts Are Like Flowers. I mean, there's so many great songs on this record, I don't dare to mention them all. But yeah, he wrote brilliant songs, and as you can see, these guys, you can probably see their influences in the way they dress. So 70s Rolling Stones, they love the glam bands, New York Dolls, both loved Johnny Thunders and tried to write songs like Johnny Thunders, only with a romantic British touch, I guess. So Dave in particular, he was so good at writing these striking, fatalistic, melancholic ballads, if you will, rock and roll ballads, and yeah, really one of his strong suits. And of course, Nikki Sudden got a lot of credit from this project because he was the known guy in the scene from being in Swell Maps. But Dave, he doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page. I think he has a German one, and I think he had more of a cult following in Germany than actually in the UK. He's from Birmingham and put out a lot of great material, a lot of different bands. The Ragdolls, I think it was one of his bands. And also, of course, Jacobites, I guess is the project he was mostly known for. And he had this band, the Bounty Hunters, that I will talk about now, because I actually managed to pick up 3 albums by Dave, secondhand from a guy selling online. The guy was selling them for like 85 kroners each, and this was just after record store day. But I had no choice at that price, because this is stuff that you typically won't come across in these parts anyway. Originals, UK pressings, and yeah, I was blown away to be able to pick these albums up. I really must say I struck gold, because I've been a fan of the guy and the songwriting from the Jacobite stuff, so it was just yeah, very exciting to come across these. So I will talk about them now. There are 3 variations on the name. This first one is actually Dave Kusworth and the Bounty Hunters, so we got together a band after the Jacobites from that period. And they put out this album in 1988 called Weddings, Wives and Roses. Pretty terrific album, released on Kaleidoscope Records. And as mentioned, so good at writing ballads, evident on this album especially, with a song like Dollar Kiss, All the Violet Lights, Scarlet Ribbons. Yeah, many great tracks on here. And I think this is a record that people are not familiar with at all. Yeah, but please tell me in the comments if you are watching this and you're a UK resident and you were around in the 80s. Maybe you know about Dave and maybe you've been to a show of his or a Jacobites show. Please let me know in the comments, because I'm trying to figure out how this guy didn't get bigger or didn't get the recognition I think he deserved. So if I were to point at anyone who's an underrated artist in my collection, now this would be Dave Kusworth. Yeah, because I enjoyed all these 3 records, and I hadn't heard them before, and to hear these songs for the first time on vinyl was just such a treat. The next album that he did the year after, and now you can see it's only the Bounty Hunters. This one is called Treads, a Tear-Stained Scar. Has more of a band feel. The band is photographed there. And this one quite reminded me more of, perhaps their replacements. And I actually read that Paul Westerberg was a big fan of both Nikki and Dave, and championed their careers in the US. This album, I think, probably have one of Dave's best songs outside of the Jacobites project, and it's called Everything's for Her. Strong recommendation on this one, and I don't recall so many of the other songs, but I do remember enjoying a lot the song Another Change of Heart. Yeah, terrific stuff, and more of the full band feel on that one. The last one is called All the Heartbreak Stories, and as you see, this only has Dave's name on it, so it's quite a solo effort. This was also on Creation Records, like the Bounty Hunters one, and as mentioned, from '91, I guess I mentioned it, and this has more the stripped down acoustic approach, so it feels more like Jacobite stuff, I guess. But it does have some interesting collaborations on this album. There's a song that a female vocalist she's the vocalist on the song One Sunday Morning. Her name is Suzanne Delane, and I discovered that she had a band a little later on called Woodbine that I'm eager to check out because I really enjoyed her singing on this one. Dave's songs, overall are pretty enjoyable, but I wouldn't say that this album has quite the highlights as on the other two. The opener track, Next Tuesday, was terrific, and I really had to smile when I heard the song The Most Beautiful Girl in Town, because that one, I guess, it was so reminiscent of some early Velvet Underground stuff. I guess they are directly referencing some of that stuff, and perhaps the favorite on this album would be this title track, All the Heartbreak Stories. So, yeah, what a steal to pick up all these three Dave Kusworth albums for only 85 kroners, which is less than $10 each, of course. So very happy with that. And those were my second-hand pickups from the last month. I can just show you the records before we close off. So this was Nikki Sudden's album on Abstract Records. This was the Dave Kusworth album on Creation Records, and also on Creation. So very happy with that. And this one was the first one I showed on Kaleidoscope Records. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next vinyl collection update that I will talk more about new records that I got. So until then, take care.